Wow, I'm finally doing this. If anybody had told me that, oh, Stephanie, in so and so years, you are going to start telling people about Jesus Christ, talking about the gospel willingly, I would have never believed it. Here I am. I'm actually very happy that I get to share this side of me. Doing this gives me so much joy. If it's the first time you're coming across my channel, hi, my name is Stephanie G. That's basically the introduction I would like to give for this video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how I heard God for the first time and I thought I was actually going mad. I think God speaks to every believer. Most of the time, we are not listening. This video is actually really, really personal to me because it was like my first experience recognizing God's voice. Let me know, like, it was weird, it was strange. Just sit back. I'm going to tell you everything about it and what led to even hearing and recognizing his voice. I think I'll first like to put out that this video may be crazy to you, especially if you're not a believer. I know how it sounds. And I hope that this video serves as a push to somebody who is trying to build a relationship with God. I've always been a child who was brought up in church, but having a relationship with God is not something that I took seriously. Both my parents are pastors. Having a relationship with God was something that I decided that I wanted to do last year in 2025. I made a decision that, you know what's the harm in trying? Why don't I worship more? When people used to say, "You're in the spirit, they are hearing God," I was literally so curious. I was like, when will it be my turn? People will just be like, "Oh, God said this. I heard this from God." In fact, how can millions of people be lying that they can hear God? This is something that I was sort of very intentional about. In the mornings, usually, I just used to say a very lazy prayer, but I actively started trying to intentionally be in His presence, worshiping more. If I have a situation that makes me feel a certain way, I'll just pray about it. And I remember that was when I started my Just Thinking Out Loud series. If you've been following me, you're probably familiar with that series because it was something I started out of the blue and I really, really enjoyed it. But there was this particular video that I made talking about marriage and talking about how this generation scares me and how nobody wants to take marriage seriously anymore. That's the whole other talk for another day. I made this video and I was dragged mercilessly. I have been on the internet space for close to 7 years. I have never been dragged as much as I was dragged for that particular video for just talking. And I remember that particular day, I kept on reading the comments, people were insulting. I was just thinking, I was like, should I have said this in a way that would have made people want to follow me more or like me more? I was so troubled. And that particular day, I remember I was so deep in thoughts that I put my phone down, face down, and I was basically thinking. When people say things like, oh, God dropped this scripture in their heart, I used to always think that they probably have read the verse before, maybe in a tough time or during tough times. It's like they just remember it. I was staring into the wall, just quiet, and I heard this verse, First Thessalonians 2, verse 4. I was confused at first because I was like, where did that come from? When I tell you that the first thing that I did was enter my ChatGPT and ask, is there a Bible verse like Thessalonians? It said yes. And I was like, okay, let me check this verse that's actually taking me to. What it said actually really shocked me. And I was like, nah, it has to be a coincidence because it said, on the contrary, we speak as those approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel. We are not trying to please people, but God who tests our hearts. And I was like, wait, oh, that can't be. And in that moment, I was doubting because I was like, what was that? And I heard the second scripture almost immediately, 2 Timothy 2, verse 4. And it said this, no one serving as a soldier gets entangled in civilian affairs, but rather tries to please his commanding officer. Immediately I read this verse, I started shaking. It was too direct to be a coincidence. I called my sister, Michelle Erimakonosine, because she's a pastor. And I called her and I said, does this happen? And my sister was like, it's God's voice. And because my heart was open to counsel, and I was like, wow. I was shocked. I was flabbergasted. I know that God speaks through his word, but I never imagined that in your time of need that he would direct you to the exact place to read. I never knew. And after that day, it gave me lots of encouragement to not only keep going, to also be more curious about knowing God and having a proper relationship with him. There are so many other times that this has happened, and I'm super grateful that I had that experience because it was kind of like a nudging towards continuing my search for God and pursuing a relationship with him. And I'm actually really, really grateful for it. Anyways, that's the end of this video. I'm actually really excited that I filmed this video because I know a lot of people will be like, oh, people like to lie. I can't convince you. You would have to experience God for yourself. I know this sounds crazy. I was once there. When people say things like this, I used to be like, I just line on that. I just hearing things. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I hope that this story and whatever I've been able to tell you helps you confirm the questions that you've been asking or what you've been feeling. Also helps you recognize God's voice. A lot of the time, just your own voice speaking, but when you hear God's voice, you would know. It sounds more like your voice, but you know that they are not generated by you. See you in my next video, and please don't forget to follow, subscribe. This is my first video, so if I'm making a lot of mistakes, it's just for the now. Bye, thanks for watching, and just thinking out loud though.